Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, a show about writing and publishing with your host, J.F. Garrard.
Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, and today our special guests is Rachel, Renée Russell, and Nikki Russell. So Rachel, hi. Rachel is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Dork Diaries, an international blockbuster series chronicling the life and misadventures of middle school students, Nikki Maxwell and her best friends Chloe and Zoey. With humor and wit, Rachel's books encourage tweens to embrace their individuality and always let their inner dork shine through. The Dork Diaries have been translated into 52 languages worldwide, and its characters are as diverse as the millions of tweens who read the books. With more than 55 million books in print, the series has garnered such honors as 2 Kids' Book Choice Awards, an Image Award from the NAACP for Outstanding Literary Work for Children, the Milner Award for Children's Literature, and a Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Book of the Year nomination. Rachel is also the author of the second New York Times bestselling series, The Misadventures of Max Crumley, which received a Kids' Book Choice Award. And her daughter, Nikki Russell, is the illustrator for both book series. So the mother and daughter team have released 21 consecutive New York Times bestsellers. That is like an amazing record.
Yeah.
So now I have to start somewhere. So tell me, what inspired you to create the Dork Diaries back in 2009? And did you always have Nikki in mind to illustrate?
Okay, it's kind of a long story, but
Okay,
I have 2 daughters, and the older daughter they both attended University of Michigan. My older daughter left, maybe 2000, maybe 2007 to start at University of Michigan, and Nikki left maybe like a year later. I don't know if my dates might be a little off, but I was home and I was not able to micromanage their lives anymore. So I had to find a new hobby. And I decided I always wanted to write a children's book because by profession, I'm a consumer bankruptcy attorney, which I love it and I enjoy doing it. But I wanted to do something that was really fun and exciting. And I always wanted to write a children's book. So after both of my daughters were like 3 hours away at University of Michigan, I thought, well, I have to do something to keep myself busy. So I thought this was the perfect time to put all that mommy energy into another project. And it was writing my first children's book manuscript. So I was definitely inspired by both of my daughters. I don't know if you can tell, Nikki is very tall. How tall are you, Nikki?
About 5'11".
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm like 4'10", so you know.
Yes. Yeah, her dad was like 3, 6. Her dad was super tall. So both of my daughters were really tall. So when they started like kindergarten and first grade, they were always like the tallest kids in the class. And so they got teased for being tall, and they were really smart, and they were kind of shy, and usually teachers loved them, so they were usually the teachers' helpers. So all of those things put together kind of made them they were popular with the teachers and the principal in the school, but they were not maybe so popular with kids in their classroom. So they started getting bullied. Probably at what age? When did it start? Maybe?
I would say as early as elementary school, like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Was a mean girl. I wanted to be friends with her so much because she got straight A's. All the kids loved her. She was like a really, really cool person. I wanted to be friends with her, but for some reason, she just did not like me. And she and her friends would give me the hardest time. That was the start of what would be a very, very, very long haul of dealing with bullies, mean girls, peer pressure, and it eventually led to creating Dork Diaries.
So, it got worse. I think it started in elementary school, and then it was worse in middle school, and by high school, it was intolerable because by then they were getting football players, kind of picking on them or shoving them in the lunchroom line or, making cracks about them. So, was it maybe ninth grade for you and 10th grade? Do you remember exactly?
10th grade.
Yeah. So, and when Nikki was in 10th grade and her sister was in 11th grade, that was when they started getting like physically pushed. And I mean, they never got like punched in the face, but they were.
Oh yes, because you went to co-ed schools. Yes,
by football players. And these are like adult men. I mean, at that age, I mean, the guys are like 16, 17, 18. So they were basically full grown. It wasn't like in middle school or elementary school where the girls are still bigger than the boys for the most part. So that was like kind of the last straw. So I actually transferred them to a private school. And They loved it there. The teachers loved them. The students loved them. My older daughter, Erin, started a debate club. Nikki started, that's when she started acting. And it was just a whole, 100% different experience for them. So when I decided to write a book, I wanted to capture some of their experiences. And I wanted the book to be something that kids and even parents could use to inspire kids that were being bullied to hang in there and to get friends. So a lot of what Nikki Maxwell, our main character, goes through, kids, if they read that and they kind of emulate what she's doing. Not everything Nikki does is perfect, but as far as handling bullies and finding friends and being confident in herself and realizing that the bullies have the problem, not her. All those types of things that I put in the book, hopefully kids will read and figure, oh, maybe I can do that. Or if Nikki found friends after being bullied, maybe I can find friends. And if Nikki thinks she's still a cool person and really talented, maybe I'm a cool person and really talented. So that was the whole inspiration for Dork Diaries. And Erin and Nikki were called dorks, and they would like cry sometimes and feel really bad because they were called, oh, you're dorky or you're nerd or you're so not cool. They didn't get invited to birthday parties. One day they just got tired of it and they said, you know what? Yes, I'm a dork. Dorks are cool. Dorks are smart, because they were both straight A students probably for the most part. And being a dork is wonderful. Yes, I will own it. I'm a dork. So at that point, they embraced it. Of course, it helped because I got them out of that school into the new school. So they didn't have to worry about all the dorky stuff. But at one point, they're like, fine, I'm a dork. That's me. That's who I am. I'm going to embrace it. And that is how I started thinking about dorks. And then when I decided to write the book, I thought, well, Dork Diaries, So basically, Dork Diaries is the Nikki Maxwell's our main character's diary, and she writes about her experiences in school and trying to fit in and managing homework and parents and trying to make friends because she's a new student. So it was definitely inspired by my daughters.
I wish I read your, I went to elementary school way before that, but I similarly, I was also bullied a lot. And
oh, you were?
I was called,
oh my gosh!
I was called
gosh.
pizza face. I think that's worse because I had bad acting.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
but
this is exactly so. You know what? I feel horrible that you had that experience, but then I feel happy because our book series deals with that.
Yeah, and I sold millions of copies, so woohoo, Bullies, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's something. And look at you now. You have your own. You're very successful to have your own podcast.
Oh gosh, I'm not sure about that, but okay. So Nikki, when did you discover you like illustration? Did you go to university for illustration or something else?
So ironically, I went to university for something else. I majored in elementary education. My major was in language arts and my minor was in fine arts. And the reason why I chose fine arts is because art has always played a big role in my life. I discovered at a very, very young age, like at 3 or 4 years old, that I just love to draw. I'm just very grateful and very blessed. My mom gave me the opportunity to draw for a living. It's one of my biggest passions.
And I'm going to interrupt her. And what was your canvas when you were drawing when you were that age? Or you want to share that?
Okay, so Mommy actually used me as the inspo for Brianna drawing on the walls in book one because that's where my first illustrations started.
Always, usually after a fresh paint coat too, because she loved it when it was the walls were all sparkly, clean, and whatever. That was the best time to get out the jumbo magic marker and start her creativity. Sure, yeah, if you can find it. So yeah, and our main character Nikki Maxwell has a little sister. And the little sister is Brianna, and that was inspired by Nikki as a child, always writing on the walls. Yeah. So I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right. So my mom was gracious. She understood I was young and didn't know better, and that I'd eventually grow out of that bad habit. But she started getting me notebook papers from the grocery store and pens and pencils and colored pencils and coloring books and just things to expand my mind and broaden my horizons when it came to art. So drawing started to grow on me, and it grew and grew and grew until in middle school, she started placing me in art camp, summer art camp. So I'd go to Kindle College of Art and Design in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I really enjoyed that. And I just took my passion along with me, and I continued nurturing it at University of Michigan was my college stomping ground, and I take art classes to fulfill my fine arts minor. So art always played a big role in my life.
And how did you, I'm a bragging mom, how did you graduate?
Oh, I graduated with honors.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm
So
very
like
proud.
Thank you.
after you wrote your book, was it illustrated in the drafts before you sent it out to publishers, or was it hard finding a publisher?
Yeah, when we started, well, back then everything was done by mail. Now everything
Yeah.
is internet, but you would like send, you'd have to actually, usually they wanted 2 chapters or 3 chapters. So you'd have to print your first 3 chapters, which is usually, you know, for me, it was maybe like 60 pages or 40 pages. You send it in, and then usually within 6 months, you'll get a yes or a no. That's how it is. I think I started sending out manuscripts in maybe 2007, 2006. Initial ones, I had other ideas too, but you send it off and then they'll read it. And if they're interested, then you would either get a physical letter in the mail. And since internet was kind of just starting or being used in publishing, you would get an email and it would say, we're interested. Please send the entire manuscript. And my case with Dork Diaries, I'd only done maybe 50 pages. So it actually got sold and I had to finish it. And that's very unusual. I don't know if it's usual now, but it was unusual, you know, back in, I think 2008 was when it got purchased. So I actually had to finish it, and then it was published.
Now, what were some of your biggest challenges and surprises, like working on this project together, or your Dork Diaries series?
Let's see. With us, we at one point the books were selling really well, so we decided to start writing 2 books a year. And I think that was, to write 1 book a year is even kind of unusual, because I don't know what my peers do, but the average author, I think, takes usually a year or 2 to write an entire manuscript. Our first book, Dork Diaries, was written in 1 year. And then after our sales took off and people, you know, had a big appetite and they wanted more and more. So then we started writing 2 books a year. So the biggest challenge for us was to turn out 2 Dork Diaries books a year, which meant we took 6 months to write it, illustrate it, get it edited, get it published, and then in bookstores, all within 6 months. So when the years that we did 2 books a year, that was our biggest challenge, was to, you know, get
Yeah, I don't
everything
think people understand how long it takes to write a book.
Yeah,
You
and
read it in
it
an hour,
does.
and you're like done.
Yeah, and I've heard of people that have taken 3 years. I guess if it's very literary, and those are the ones that win the fancy awards, you know, literary awards, they tend to take a lot longer. But ours was fun, and it was a diary, and then it was, we were working together too. So while I would do all the writing, she was doing all the illustrating. So that made it so that we could, you know, probably get things done a little faster as well. Because we were, and then we're in my house now, but on the other side of my home, I added a studio, and Nikki has a studio that she works in. So she comes into work every day at my house, but she only lives like 4 blocks away anyway.
So does Nikki do you get to choose what scenes you want to illustrate, or do you illustrate every chapter?
So I illustrate every chapter, and I basically illustrate whatever she needs drawn in each chapter, which is a lot of fun. Each drawing that she needs is always an exciting opportunity for me to learn and grow and become a better artist. And I really enjoy drawing the characters.
So I would say each chapter has about 4 to 5 illustrations. And then I'll write the chapter, and then I'll go through and I'll say, for this scene is really funny, so why don't we try a, you know, whatever. Let me see. We'll even look at the very first chapter. In our first chapter of book 1, Nikki is talking about how she met some new girl. So we have so initially I probably told her, Nikki's at her school, we need her in front of the lockers talking to the new girls. And then she imagines that she wants a cell phone, really. And that's another thing why I think our series is popular, because we talk about things that kids like now. So that in the Dork Diaries, there's an internet and there's cell phones, and that was kind of cutting edge back for 2009, because all that stuff was new for kids anyway. Adults, you know, had cell phones and that, but kids were just starting to get it. So I said, well, how about a picture of, she's imagining herself getting a phone call, cell phone. Yeah, I'll let you show it. So how about an image of her kissing her cell phone or hugging her cell phone?
Yeah.
And that's what you came up with.
Yeah, I remember the first cell phone was always special.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I'll suggest things, but Nikki has the freedom to do kind of what she wants. So I'll suggest this, that, and the other, and she'll send back something different. And inevitably, I love it. I don't know. Have you ever sent me something different or whatever? And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Usually it's like my mind is blown. So she does have the freedom.
She's not just an excellent writer, she also has a keen eye for art and detail. So she helps me refine each artwork.
And then the other thing, by her having a teaching degree, I may say something and she's like, well, Mom, these kids are like 8 to 12. And I think for that age group, we should do this or that, or what that's kind of scary at that age. So a lot of times she will correct me based on her training as a elementary school teacher. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I deal with adults, all day. So I think we have a nice working relationship because I can help her and she can help me as illustrator and teacher.
Cool. Now, what made you decide now was the right time to release the Dork Diaries in full color?
Only because that is all the rage now. We have this whole, there's a separate New York Times bestselling sellers list that's all graphic novels. And I would say that 80 to 90% of the graphic novels on the New York Times bestsellers list are full color. There are a few in there that are, sometimes there might be manga or they're for high schoolers or older adults. So those are the ones that are still inked and black and white or whatever. But I would say the other 80%, which would be Babysitter's Club and Dog Man and Five Nights at Freddy's and all the other middle grade books are full color. So we're kind of late to the party actually, because I was begging my publisher to do full color back in, I think I started begging for it like in maybe 2017 or 2018. So it's just taken us like a long time to finally be able to do that. So we're really happy. But yeah, again, graphic novels are all full color. Not all of them. For middle grade, I'd say 90% of them are full color. And then over the industry overall, I'd say the inked stuff is still mostly the older kids or adults, are still doing inked. So
okay, so
we're one of the last major New York Times bestselling series to convert over, actually. So
okay, now Dork Diaries has been translated into 52 languages and sold more than 55 million copies. When did you realize the series has become such a global phenomenon?
I would say the first book came out in 2009 and it made the New York Times bestsellers list the first week it was out. And I'm like, oh, because originally I was thinking, well, if I write this book and it's, sells pretty well, I can buy new living room furniture, So that was my goal, was to get a new couch and, maybe a big screen TV, maybe $20,000 if I can make $20,000. So when it made the New York Times bestsellers list, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it stayed on there for, I think, several months. And then when we released book 2, that made the New York Times bestsellers list. And book 1 was still on. So now we had 2 books on the New York Times bestsellers list. And then for 3. So by the 3rd book, I thought, oh my gosh, I guess these books are selling and I guess people like them, because, again, at one point we had 3 books on the New York Times bestsellers list. And then it stayed on there for many, many years. And I think we're like at 300 and I don't know the exact, maybe 332 weeks on the New York Times bestsellers list in our career. So we're very, very proud of that. So I'd say by book 3, I realized that, the books were, people actually like them. That was the conclusion I came to.
So it's obvious that people like them. Like, have you had any, what's the most meaningful feedback you've gotten from a reader after reading your books? Do you remember any of their letters, their fan letters?
Yeah, we have a lot. We get lots of fan letters. As a matter of fact, we have like 200. That's not in my office. But we have 200 that are going out, and then we have like another batch that just came in. But I think when we do book signings, we'll do usually like maybe a 15 or 20-minute presentation, and we have question and answer and whatever, and then we do the signing where, again, people just line up and then we're there for hours signing books. But I always enjoy talking to our readers the best. And the most thing that touches my heart are kids. And sometimes they'll actually cry or they'll wipe their tears and they'll say that I was bullied, kind of like you. I had to not, I'm like, Ron, Rachel, don't cry, don't cry. But when I hear stories of kids that, or, you know, girls and boys even, that were bullied, and that's very, very sad. The thing that touches my heart is that, well, I read Dork Diaries, and I saw that Nikki Maxwell was able to find her Chloe and Zoey. So I started looking for my Chloe and Zoey, and I found them, and they're right here. And then their two friends stand up and they all hug, and I'm like, oh, everybody's crying, you know. And so, and a lot of times I like that those very people will turn around and talk to the other kids in the audience and say, yes, Nikki Maxwell was bullied, and she has a happy ending. I was bullied and I found my friends, and I'm here to tell all of you, don't give up. Talk to your parents, talk to your teachers, and, you know, hang in there. You're not the problem. The bully or the kids that's being mean to you has the problem, not you. So, you know, just don't give up. And there's somebody, we call it finding your Zoey and Chloe, and that's finding someone that's, you know, you can be your friend, and they'll support you and you can support them, and all of that. So that's probably my best experiences as an author has been talking to kids that are, you know, able to read the book and then find the strength to, you know, I call it kind of like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, you know. So that's my favorite.
Have you gotten any feedback about the illustrations, Nikki? Like any fan letters?
Yes, I receive a lot of positive feedback from the illustrations. There are kids who tell me that Nikki's art style is their favorite, and then there are kids that tell me that Mackenzie's art style from book 9 is their favorite, and they're always saying such positive things about it, which really touches my heart.
That's awesome. Now, Nikki Maxwell's voice feels very authentic to tweens. How do you keep that perspective fresh after so many books? Because there's, you know, you're writing so many of them.
It's sometimes challenging, but it's not so difficult because technically Nikki Maxwell was inspired by Nikki. As a matter of fact, I asked permission to, you were probably in college, I don't know if I emailed you, but I was wanting I wanted to call her Nikki because when I was writing and working with the character every day, I named her Nikki, and I found the fact that her name was Nikki and it reminded me of my own daughter. It was a lot more inspiring to write and create and to kind of put my heart into the book and to try to figure out how she thinks and how she talks and how she acts, if I can call her Nikki based on my own daughter. So that makes writing Nikki Maxwell a lot easier because a lot of it is channeling my daughter, Nikki. Brianna is definitely 100%. I don't know, Brianna might be more you than the Nikki is you. I don't know, but both of those two characters are, I would say, were inspired by Nikki as a child writing on the walls in her bedroom, and then as Nikki Maxwell as a teenager in middle school and going to high school. So now, that's why I wanted to call her Nikki, because that made it easier. If her name was Cynthia, then maybe, but when I would look at Nikki, I know what she's thinking, and I know how frustrated she is, and I know every, how her mind works and what she's going to do and what's going to make her happy and what's going to make her miserable by being able to challenge not only my daughter, but my daughter's name. I maybe cheated a little bit there.
And now, do you have any advice for people that want to write books, I guess, if they have an inspiration that hits them?
I would say write the book that you wanted to read as a child. I wouldn't say the book that you would like to read as an adult, because what I want to read as an adult is not, what maybe a 8 to 14-year-old would want to read. So I would say kind of think about your childhood and when you were in the library or you were in a bookstore, what was it that you were looking for and what was it that you were really passionate about as a child? What was that one magical book that you would have loved to have grabbed and ran out of the store, to read over the next week or so? Write that book. Because more than likely there's other children out there that feel the same exact way you did. So, and of course with me, I was more inspired by my daughters, more so than my own childhood. But I would say write for the child in you, or write that book that you always wanted to read.
Now, I have to ask, because there are other members of the family. Do they get jealous that you two are on this special project?
Not really. As a matter of fact,
Oh, there's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, but my older daughter Erin did work with us for what, 4 or 5 years. She got married and then she moved to Iowa, and she has 2 books. She was more into picture books. We're middle grade, so our books, are usually 300 pages or thereabout. So she did work with us for 5 years, and it was wonderful. But her true passion was in picture books. So by the time she did get married and moved to Iowa, she was doing picture books, and today she is doing picture books. I think she's had 2 picture books that have been published.
Okay.
So otherwise, my youngest sister is an attorney, and she worked for a Fortune 500 company, and she wanted to spend more time at home and whatever. So we made a deal, and she's like kind of our manager and whatever. So my sister works for me full time, and then I have a brother, and his office is on the other side of this wall here, and he was with Amazon for several years, and now he works for us. So when you say our family,
you're
whatever,
building an
all of our
empire.
family, we all work together. And then my sister has like 3 daughters that are, I think the oldest one is now 17 or 18, all the way to 25, and all 3 of them will, like, one of them does voiceovers, another one helps with our fan letters. So like I'd say 8 or 9 fan. Then my mom, she's older now, so she does, but my mom would help stuff our fan mail. So we had like 300 envelopes. You have to like type it, and then you take it, and we have to put a sticker, a bookmark, and we fold it, whatever. My mom used to help with that. So we are 100% a family operation.
Wow, cool. Now, what is next for both of you? Do you have another project coming up, or another series, or is another Nikki book?
Yes, you want to talk about the next?
So our next book is taking book 2 of our series and turning that into full color, just like book 1.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
we've also already started working on book 3. So there'll definitely be full color for book 1, which is done and will be coming out on Tuesday, November 18th of 2025. And then we're working on book 2, and we've also started work on book 3. So we'll see how those 3 do.
Yeah.
And then based on that, we may continue
Yeah.
to convert them to color. So that's kind of where we are. And then we're still working on our next book, which is book 17, and Nikki starts high school. So that's a project that's ongoing. So we're working on converting our first 3 books to full color, and we're also working on book 17, which is the first book that has Nikki in high school. So
Okay, cool. Now we're at the part of the podcast where we'll have a bit of a book reading. So, Rachel and Nikki, do you want to give us a bit of context before you start?
Sure. So back in 2000, was it 2008?
2009.
Back in 2009, my mom wrote the very first Dork Diaries, and it looks like this right here, where my artwork was inked. But
show what the ink looks like.
Yes, I will show what some of the inks look like.
It's all black and white.
Artwork
Yeah.
you would expect to see inside of the book.
Okay.
And one of my favorite artworks. She's got her crush there holding an umbrella open for her. If you want to find out what happened there, you can get the book and you can read it. So that was the edition for when the book first came out in 2009. But come November of this year, we're going to transform that book into full color.
Wow.
And here is what the cover will look like. And the interior is going to be filled with all sorts of beautiful colors popping off the page.
You have to do all new artwork. It's all new artwork too. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So now I'm going to read 2 chapters from book 1. You can find these chapters in the colored edition and the inked edition of our books.
The text didn't change, right? It was just the illustration changed, I guess?
Actually, we did update the text a little bit because
okay.
again, it was written in 2009, and because in my initial book, again, I was wanting to be like very cutting edge. So I think I mentioned like some pop stars that were popular then, or I think there was I think there was even a social media company. I can't think of what it was, but they're out of business now. So, and I will never make that mistake. Now I know why authors don't write about what's happening, at the year that you publish. But I thought, oh, I'll publish it. It'll be popular for a year or two. I don't have to worry. I didn't know it was going to be like 16 years where people are still buying them. So again, I was thinking, write a book. It'll be popular for a year or two, and then my career is over, and I'll just, resume my bankruptcy career as an attorney, but it didn't. And I don't practice law. I still have my law license as a backup to the backup in case I no longer write, but I have been a children's author for 16 years, and my last bankruptcy hearing was 16 years ago.
Wow. Okay, cool.
But so this is the new book. And again, as Nikki said, it's full color, and that's what the characters look like. This is Mackenzie. This is Nikki. This is Chloe, and this is Zoey. And all of the artwork inside is all full color too. So it's really, really fabulous.
Wonderful.
Okay, so we will start on Saturday, October 31st, and that's chapter 1 of book 1.
Okay.
Sometimes I wonder if my mom is brain dead. Then there are days when I know she is. Like today. The drama started this morning when I casually asked if she would buy me one of those cool new cell phones that do almost everything. I considered it a necessity of life, second only to maybe oxygen. What better way to clinch a spot in the CCP, cute, cool, and popular group at my new private school, Westchester Country Day, than by dazzling them with a wicked new cell. Last year, it seemed like I was the only student in my entire middle school who didn't have one. So I bought an older used phone, super cheap, on eBay. It was bigger than what I wanted, but I figured I couldn't go wrong for the clearance price of only $12.99. Okay, I put my telephone in my locker and spread the word that I had hot gossip about my new phone and that everyone could now call me. Then I counted down the minutes before my social life started heating up. I got really nervous when 2 of the CCP girls came walking down the hall in my direction, chatting on their phones. They came right over to my locker and started acting super friendly. Then they invited me to sit with them at lunch, and I was like, okay. But deep down inside, I was jumping up and down and doing my Snoopy happy dance. I'm la 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 la, so happy, la 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 la. Then things got really strange. They said they had heard the hot gossip about my brand new iPhone and that everyone, meaning the rest of the CCP crew, was dying to see it. I was about to explain that I said I had hot gossip about my new phone, not the hot gossip is about my new iPhone. But I never got a chance because, unfortunately, my telephone started ringing very loudly. I was trying my best to ignore it, but both of the CCP girls were staring at me like, well, aren't you going to answer it? Obviously, I didn't want to answer it because I had a really bad feeling they were going to be a little disappointed when they actually saw my phone. So I just stood there praying that it would stop ringing, but it didn't. It was all like, ring, ring, ring. And pretty soon, everyone in the hallway was staring at me too. Finally, I gave in, snatched open my locker, and answered the phone, mainly to stop that awful ringing. I was like, sorry, wrong number. And the CCP girls were like, ew, OMG. And when I turned around, both the CCP girls were running down the hall screaming, make it go away, make it go away. I guess it probably meant they didn't want me to sit with them at lunch anymore, which was really humiliating. The most important lesson I learned last year was that having a cruddy phone, or none at all, can totally ruin your social life. While millions of kids regularly forget their homework, not a single one would be caught dead without their cell phone, which was why I was nagging my mom about getting me one too. Okay, all right, so I'm going to stop here and I am going to dive into another chapter. This is from Nikki's diary entry entitled Wednesday, September 4th.
This is when she first meets the mean girl, Mackenzie House.
My new issue of That's So Hot magazine says the secret to happiness is the 4 F's. Friends, fun, fashion, and flirting. But unfortunately, the closest I've ever gotten to friends, fun, fashion, and flirting is having a locker right next to Mackenzie Hollister. She's the most popular girl in 8th grade. Lucky me. I had just finished fighting my way through the crowded hallways to get to my locker and had almost been trampled alive. Then suddenly, as if by magic, the huge mob of students parted right down the center, just like the Red Sea. That's when I first saw Mackenzie strutting down the hallway like it was the runway of Paris fashion show or something. She had blonde hair and blue eyes and was dressed like she had just finished a photo shoot from the cover of Teen Vogue. And everyone, except me, immediately fell under her powerful hypnotic spell and totally lost their minds. What's up, Mackenzie? You look fabulous, Mackenzie. Are you coming to my party this weekend, Mackenzie? Your shoes are to die for, Mackenzie. Will you marry me, Mackenzie? You'll never guess who has a crush on you, Mackenzie. It's that another designer purse, Mackenzie. Love your hair today, Mackenzie. I'll pluck my eye out with a pencil and eat it with a spam and mustard sandwich if only you'll sit down at my lunch table today, Mackenzie. Which also proves my theory that there's always at least one seriously mentally ill weirdo in every middle school across America. It was Mackenzie when she walked up to the locker right next to mine, and I knew then and there I was going to have a very bad school year. Being so close to the radiance of her awesome yet sickening perfection just made me feel like a humongous loser. And it didn't help that she was hogging most of my personal space. Hey, it wasn't like I was jealous of her or anything. I mean, how totally juvenile would that be? Between classes, Mackenzie and her friends are forever standing right in front of my locker, GGGing. That means giggling, gossiping, and glossing. And whenever I get up the nerve to say, excuse me, but I really need to get to my locker, she just ignores me or rolls her eyes and says stuff like, annoying much? Or what's her problem? And I'm like, hey, girlfriend, I don't have no stinking problem. But I just say it inside my head. So no one really hears it except me. However, deep down, I'm troubled and ashamed that a teeny tiny part of me, a very dark and primitive side, would totally love to be best friends with Mackenzie. Mackenzie and me as BFFs. And I find that part of myself so disgusting, I could vomit. But on a much happier note, I'm really into lip gloss too. My favorite one right now is Crazy Kissalicious Strawberry Crush Glitteretti. It's yummy and tastes just like strawberry cheesecake. Unfortunately, no super cute hunk like Brandon Roberts, the guy who sits in front of me in my biology class, has developed a huge crush on me and fallen in love with my fabulous glossy lips, like in all of those crazy kissalicious television commercials. But hey, it could happen. Oh, I almost forgot. Dad is supposed to pick me up after school today to take me to my dentist appointment. Please, please, please don't let him pick me up in his work van with the 5-foot-long plastic roach on top. I would absolutely die if anyone saw his van and found out I only attend this school due to his bug extermination contract. That's all.
Well, thank you very much. Oh my goodness, like you can so tell you're an actor. Like you're so expressive when you read. But
Thank you.
But thank you for spending time with us here at the Artsy Raven.
Thank you for having
Thank you for having us, Jaya.
For more upcoming episodes of the Artsy Raven about writing and publishing, visit us at jfgarrard.com/arpodcast. A reminder to Patreon subscribers that there is bonus content available for every episode on the Patreon website. If you enjoyed the show, you can show your appreciation by buying us some digital coffee. The Artsy Raven is produced by J.F. Garrard. The voice in the show's introduction is Chris Gorman, and music is by Tim Moore. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe.